This week's episode is brought to you in part by MPix, delivering the highest quality prints and products from your photos. Shoot today, upload tonight, we ship tomorrow.
On this week's show, I've got Filter Gallery fun for you.
I've got a great tip for you on retouching with the Puppet Warp tool. We've also got a special guest in the studio, Eric Vallon.
And I have a way to make content-aware fill even better, and it all starts right now.
Welcome to Photoshop User TV, brought to you by the National Association of Photoshop Professionals. And now, here are your hosts, the Photoshop guys.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another colloquial episode of Photoshop User TV, brought to you by the people over at the National Association of Photoshop Professionals, those that bring you Photoshop User Magazine. Upside, and so this is a cover that actually looks pretty good upside down too.
Good. Yeah, so
it's got a rock
dual
climber.
purpose.
Yeah, it's got a rock climber, and she's upside down if you look at it this way. But if you look at it this way,
It's for our folks in Australia.
if you look at it this way, she's kind of looking right at you. I don't know.
It's weird.
Yeah, Dave looked at it and he's like, "Why is everything upside down?" Welcome back, everybody. Dave, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Matt.
I guess I
Thank
should
you.
introduce everybody. So I'm joined today by Mr. Dave Cross.
Hello.
Oh, Canada.
Thank you.
So I went to a baseball game. It has nothing to do with anything. I went to a baseball game, Goat Rays. They were playing the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yes.
And so we're walking in, and my kids just being clueless about everything. Everybody's standing for the national anthem, and they're standing there like, "This doesn't sound familiar," and they just keep walking. I'm like, "Boy, stop it!" Stop everything. They were playing the Canadian national anthem first, so anyway. But yeah, I had to reprimand them and make them realize.
Well, I appreciate that.
We have Dave Cross as a friend of ours, and we have to. Anyway, we're also joined today by a man over in the weather storm team, Pete Collins.
Howdy.
How's the weather looking today, Pete?
Well, you got to
gray
look
from
out
here.
for the Minnesota Plains. They're still a little sketchy over there, but other than that, we're doing okay.
Based on your laptop, everything looks just kind of gray right now. So.
Yeah, fog rolled in.
Are we clear here in Tampa?
Well, we might get a little storm in the afternoon, but right now we're okay.
Dude, you can say that any day in Tampa.
That's why I said it.
All right. So first off, I was just thinking, I was like, hey, it'd be cool to mention that I'm teaching at Dave Cross workshops this week, but by the time they see this, it'll have been passed. But hey, that doesn't mean that lots of other cool people aren't teaching. Not that I'm cool, but that other people that are cool, not me, will be teaching at Dave Cross's workshop.
So let's see. So far, you said you're not cool and your kids are clueless. Yeah, this is a pretty good show.
You're off to a great start.
It's not a colloquial episode; it's a self-deprecating episode. But there are lots of great instructors coming up here. And
David Zeiser's coming up doing a small group wedding lighting session, and Rick Salmon's coming in January, and lots of others. I got a business of boudoir thing coming in November. That's really cool. So all sorts of fun.
Where can people find out more?
DaveCrossWorkshops.
DaveCrossWorkshops.com.
Thank you.
Very cool. All right. So I have.
No, that's never good when you go to start a tutorial and it says uh-oh.
Hold on. Let's just confirm that they can see my tutorial before I start. Oh, I'm getting thumbs up. Okay, because they kind of quit for a second there. All right, so I promised a very quick tutorial here on retouching with the Puppet Warp tool. So Puppet Warp came out, was it CS5?
CS5,
right?
yeah.
And I got to tell you, I never even, I kind of thought it was a joke at first. Even when CS5 came out, I kind of thought it was a joke. Just because I'd seen so many, I guess what I thought was non-real world uses of
like
it.
elephant trunks.
Yeah, moving elephant trunks and all kinds of crazy uses for it. But where I found it the most useful is just for slight movements when it comes to retouching. And it's kind of like Liquify. I think when Liquify came out, people thought it was just a joke to make people's eyes big and everything like that. It's probably one of the most powerful retouching tools in Photoshop. And I think for me, Puppet Warp is becoming that. I don't use it for huge crazy things, but here's an example. And the tip in here is that, well, first off, just notice I have him separated on a separate layer here, and that's part of the key to this. I'm going to come down here to edit Puppet Warp. And the first tip is you kind of, I think it's just left to random where you click to place points. I always place points symmetrically because if you look at this, his arm down here is just a little bit further down than this arm over here, and so I want to make that as symmetrical as I can. So the first thing is to place what I call symmetrical points. Like I'll put one right in the middle of his head and then kind of right on his neck, just so you wonder, or if you wonder why I'm putting a lot of points here. If I only put 2, watch what happens. You know, it starts to do things that I don't think we really want it to. And if I only put 1 over here, see, it's like, ooh, cha-cha. So that's not what we're looking for. So that's why I drop a lot of points, because you have to lock down other areas that you don't want to move. So I'm going to put 1 on the elbow over here. I'm going to put 1 in the middle, and 1 down here, and 1 on his hand, and 1 on his hand over here. And I always kind of think of like hinge points on people's bodies as a good example for that. So now that I have all these points dropped, now what I can do is I can click over here, and I can start clicking, and I can drag that up and try to make it a little more symmetrical. Another thing you can do is you can select, if I drop a point on his shoulders over here, you can select 1 point, and you can hold down the Shift key, and you can select another point, and now you could see I'm kind of moving his shoulder a little bit too, because if his arm was down, his shoulder probably would have dropped down too. So you don't have to just select 1 point. You can just shift click, and you can select as many points as you want. But I'll press enter or return here, and you can just see the difference. That's before, that's after. It's a very, very slight change, but that's kind of where I find myself using it. And it is a very powerful tool for that, because Liquify is a lot harder to move body parts, because you'd have to get a huge brush, and you're liable to move something that you didn't want to. So anyway,
now there's 2 things I would say about Puppet War. First of all, I think it's the most poorly named tool, because it sounds like kind of a joke, like Puppet Warp. If it was like, because it's a mesh, so why not call it Mesh Warp or something? Because I think some people miss the point. I've seen people use it for landscape photos, but you wouldn't think of that. It's like, because it's not a puppet, it's not a person, it's just things you want to adjust. And it probably won't surprise you to say, I would also make it a smart filter first, so that way you can edit it later. Because I like me some smart stuff.
Dave and his smart stuff. All right, so Peter.
Yes.
What do you have for us over here today in the fog of the grayness on your screen?
Well, we have a picture of London here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you about using your filter gallery and using multiple filters to be able to create some background textures and do things that if you need to create something, how to use the power of multiple layers to get images that you could not get just by using one single filter. Okay, what I want to do is I have simply filled this layer with 50% gray. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my filter gallery. And in order for the filters to work as well as they can, they need to have some contrast to them, the black and white contrast. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fill the first layer with film grain. And I'm going to crank it all the way up. So my numbers here are 20, 20, and 10. They're all the way up. And what that's going to do is it's going to give me a base so that I can use other filters on there, and they're going to interact with the dark and the light. What I'm trying to do is I'm going to create a realistic star scene for you that's going to be editable so that you can decide how many stars you want to have in your star scene. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply add another layer by hitting my add a new layer, new effect layer down here, and I'm going to choose crosshatch. Now I'm going to simply, well, it's already got the settings I want, 9, 6, and 1. So then I'm going to add another film grain layer, because what's happening is they're each interacting with each other. So the more I add one layer onto the next, it's going all the way through all 3 layers. So the final touch, which is going to give me that star field that I want, is I'm going to hit glowing edges down here. And if you'll take a look at it, now you'll see that it's got a nice, busy star scene to it. Well, the nice thing is first of all, I'm going to bump up the brightness so that the stars are a little brighter. You can lower them by the edge brightness. But now let's say I wanted to do something a little less with fewer stars in it. I just simply can move the smoothness up a little, just a couple, and you see that the amount of stars starts to go away. And so being able to play with the interactivity of the filters gallery and the layers within it can give you some neat adjustable images that you could then use as backgrounds or other things. And so it's just a fun way to play with the filter gallery and use its power to create images that you couldn't create anywhere else.
Very cool, Pete. You know what, the filter gallery, actually, it never gets any use. I mean, I don't think anybody even kind of sees it up there because they're just so used to going to that one filter.
Yeah, you want to pick one, but being able to sandwich them all together. And the thing is, you'll find that if you move just one of the layers down, it'll give you something different. Right. And so I just use film grain as the base, but oftentimes you use cloud filters or something else. Anything that'll give you that contrast as your base, and then start playing with it. You'll get all kinds of things. I just wrote an article about how you can use multiple layers to do that.
Cool. Dave, can you do smart filters?
I'm sure it could.
Hey, folks, we're going to take a very quick break, but we'll be back here in just 1 minute. We are back with Photoshop TV. I am joined once again today by Mr. Dave Cross and Mr. Pete Collins over there, our newest Photoshop guy. Kind of new.
I'm getting old. Older by the day.
He's kind of wearing on us already. It hasn't even been 6 months yet. But hey, I saw Dave online during the break.
No, I mean before the show started, you mean?
Yes, before the show started. And it kind of just reminded me of something, because we spend a lot of time doing this stuff that we should kind of let people know that we're doing this stuff. So Google Plus is it's actually open to the public now. And it's become, I think it's become a much cooler place for photographers to kind of follow each other than Facebook is. At least for me, the way I see Facebook is kind of more family and friend-oriented, where Google Plus seems to just be a natural place for photographers. So if you go to Google Plus, you can create an account for free. I'll run through it. You can see mine up here. I know you can't probably remember how to spell my last name, but if you pause your video, you can see it. Just type it in the little search bar up there, and the way it works is you just have to add us into a circle, and that way our stuff will kind of to fill into your stream there. So add us into a circle, and then of course Dave Cross has a page. So his is much easier than mine, Dave Cross. And we have Pete Collins, who also has a page. So there's Petey. And then Scott has a page on there, so you can follow Scott. And I won't go through this, but
don't show RC, because that'll drive them crazy.
RC, yeah, I got it. RC, just type in RC Concepcion. You can see RC's got a page, and Corey Barker. So so everybody's got pages. We're doing stuff on there. It kind of is a good place to keep up with what's going on. So,
and I think one of the reasons that it's taken off with photographers is just the photographs show so much. The way they've set it up, the way the photos display is just beautiful.
Well, yeah, and you can edit things. It's amazing. It's like once you make a post, you're not stuck with it. You don't have to delete it and go re-add it again.
That's one of my favorite things, because I'm so bad at that.
I know. Anyway, Dave Cross, do you have a Google Plus tip for us?
No. But however, you could use this to apply to a photo before you post it to Google Plus.
Okay.
So that'll be our tie-in. So you know, one of the things I hate about Photoshop World is when you see a really, really cool tip and then you can't remember who showed it to you.
No, yeah.
I want to say it was either Brian
Matt
Hughes
Kloskowski
or Russell Brown, but I can't remember. So
you know what I hate even more? Now that you say that, I learned a really cool tip at Photoshop World that I don't remember what it is.
Well, here's the one I'm going to show. Whoops,
I just forgot about it. It had something to do with sharpening.
I'll let you stew on that while I... So here's one of the things. If you've played around with content-aware fill, you may have encountered this challenge. So I took this photograph. I had a very skinny piece of yellow background paper, and I thought, well, maybe I can just fill in the spaces. So I go to content-aware fill, and it does its best attempt. And in this case, not so good, because some of the surrounding area was like her foot and the microphone stand and everything else. So that presents a bit of a challenge. So the tip, which is very cool, is this. You just make a very rough selection around the stuff you don't want content-aware fill to use, and I've already unlocked the background layer. I Option or Alt double-click on the, or excuse me, click on the layer mask, so that's hidden that area. Now you go back to the original layer, and now when I go select this area and do content-aware fill, because that other area is hidden, it can't be used by content-aware fill, except for that little wire there.
But it did a much better job.
But it did a much better job. And so you can see that it's actually a really nice way to limit what content aware fill actually looks at. So in this case, I really just want the yellow, and obviously here I could just come back and select just this little part and make it better. But I've used that so many times since I saw that tip, and I was like, things that were just
You're going to laugh,
me.
Dave. But that's the tip I was just talking about.
Yeah, that had nothing to do with sharpening, though.
No, it didn't have anything to do with sharpening, but that was it. It was Brian Hughes.
Brian Hughes, I thought it was Brian,
from Adobe
yeah.
showed it to us. I don't know if he showed it to us at the same time or whatever, but I remember him saying people don't know that they can do this, and I was like, I didn't know you could do that.
As soon as I saw that,
that was the tip.
I've used it so many times now because it's made, content aware fill often does a really good job, but every so often there's a little part that goes, why is it looking there? So now you can tell it, don't look there.
You just saved me from hours. Because for the first 30 seconds of your tip, I was sitting, I'm like, crap, what was it?
That's the tip. That was it. There you go.
Hey, we had Eric Valland in the studio here. So Eric kind of became a buddy of ours. He started off here in Tampa. He's actually a Detroit photographer right now. But he started off here in Tampa, and he kind of became a buddy of ours, and we've seen him kind of just rise, straight up through the ranks. He's teaching at the Westcott booth at Photoshop World, and just an amazing guy, amazing photographer. We had him come by the studio. He did some photography tips for our show, which is D-Town, our photography show. But Eric's also very, very good at Photoshop and post-processing, so we had him on the show here. Let's take a look. We're on the set of Photoshop User TV with Eric Valland. Eric is a commercial lifestyle photographer, mostly portrait work that you do, a whole bunch of stuff, but mostly in that commercial lifestyle type range. We've had Eric on the show before, and you're in town. You did some tips for our show, our photography show, D-Town, and Eric's also very, very, very good at Photoshop. So we wanted to have him come in and kind of just do a couple of different tips on some of the workflow that you do, because I think it's kind of cool. The people that watch these shows, they see us do the same things over and over again. And eventually I'm going to do a portrait technique one day, and then maybe 4 weeks from now we'll do another, but we still do the same things over and over. Yeah. And all the guys that are on the show work together. So then we talk about this stuff, and then we all end up doing things the same way. So I think it's great to have other people kind of come in and show us how you do it. And you've got some interesting ways where you add some contrast. So first off, thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. It's exciting. So I mean, I learned a lot of my stuff from you guys. So it's kind of neat having you over my shoulder as like I'm at the helm. It's different for sure.
I love it. But we've known Eric for a while. You might have seen him at Photoshop World. He's one of the Westcott top pros. So you'll be teaching at their booth every once in a while, and we've seen you all over the place. So, and I'm sure we're going to see you more and more as the years come on here.
Definitely.
But what do you got here today?
Yeah. Okay. This is one of the images of our model Justine. We were shooting. She was actually modeling for the tips that we were doing earlier today.
Okay.
We quickly went through, and I found a couple of my favorites. Just some quick processing and tweaks, and then I brought it into Photoshop. Photoshop is where I like to do a lot of my contrast, my sharpening, the fine tuning, like the detail work, and then I kick it back to Lightroom and export from there.
Real quick, just has nothing to do with the Photoshop part of it, but the setup and everything for all of this shot, if people watch D-Town TV, they'll be able to find you on there kind of showing what you did to set the shot up.
Yes,
okay,
totally.
So make sure you go to KelbyTV.com, check out the D-Town TV shows, and just look at the description. When you see his name pop in there, you'll know that that's the episode.
Oh yeah, yeah. This was a fun one. So it was a blast. It was a lot of fun.
All right, so we're in Photoshop.
Yep.
I've seen this program before.
Slightly familiar with it. All right, cool. Well, what I do is you would do any kind of retouching, skin cleanup that you want to do, pick leaves up off the floor, get all that out of the way first. And then when I go into lighting an image, I like to bring in a little more fill on axis or wherever, so I don't have those harsh, contrasty shadows. Because I know that I'm going to probably do a process like this or this exact process later on, and I want to give myself some leeway. So I want to make sure my shadows don't go black when I take the picture, so I have room to work with them later. So just keep that in mind when you're setting up your shots. So now that we got all that out of the way, I've got my image here. It looks good, it's clean, but I want a little more punch to it. I need a little more contrast. I know you can go and take your curves. That's one way of doing it. But I got a fun way over here, if you will. I'm going to go to Edit, and I'm right off the bat going to convert Pro to File. I'll work in RGB, sRGB, Adobe RGB, but in this case, we're going to go over to LAB. So I'm going to go and Profile Lab color is where we're going to go. Adobe, there we go. Hit OK. Brings it over here. Doesn't do a whole lot right off the bat.
Yeah, it's basically just, it changes the profile, but nothing on screen will look different.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. So right off the bat, I'm going to duplicate that then, and I'm going to come up here to Image, and apply image. And from here, here's where it starts to get interesting. We're in the lab channel, the LAB channel. That's why we came over to this profile to begin with. The important thing you want to make sure is that you have blending mode set to soft light, and you've got your opacity over here at 100%. Don't worry about masking and transparency for now. And make sure we're merging the layers. So go ahead and hit OK once you've done that. All of a sudden, something looks different. I mean, it's contrasty, yeah, but it's not a very pleasing contrast.
Yeah.
What we have to do then is come over here to our layers palette and bring it down to luminosity. That way it's not affecting the whole thing. We're just going for more the luminosity of it.
It kind of, yeah, because when you did the conversion and you did the apply image, it almost gave it a red.
Yeah, it
a red
changed
kind of
like
a
there was
look
a
to
hue to it. Yeah. Not what I'm looking for. I still want those those faithful skin tones.
So luminosity basically just says, forget about color, just show me the contrasty stuff that you're doing here.
Exactly.
So it makes sense.
So yeah,
Cool.
it's perfect for this because all we're looking for is the contrast.
Okay.
Now, when you're looking at this, it looks harsh. We got our contrast. I mean, that's for sure. Here, I'll show you by just turning off this layer and then turning it back on. We definitely got a lot of contrast.
Yeah.
So we're going in the right direction. For me, it looks way too much. When I do this right off the bat, I mean, I'll bring it down 60, 80%. I mean, you can do it to taste, but I like to cut it back overall right off the bat. And then from there, I'll go ahead and make a layer mask, and I'll invert it so it hides everything. And this is when I go back, I'll grab my brush, and I'll start painting in where I want that contrast to be.
Hey, real quick, you used one of my favorite keyboard shortcuts for layers mask.
Which
when you
one's that?
inverted.
Oh, Command-I?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
cool.
one of my favorite, because you see, you have to memorize the keyboard shortcuts for fill with black and fill with white, where if the mask is white, you want to invert, it's just I for invert, Command-I. That's, yeah.
Don't call me lazy. I just cut out one shortcut of my of the memory bank. So cool.
All right, so we got the layer mask.
Yep. And then we're going to go ahead and just paint in where we want the contrast. I really dig doing this on portraits because if you light, so you have some nice highlights and a neat transition of the shadows. Like I said, I don't want them too dark right off the bat. I mean, they really hold this contrast technique really well. I mean, they pop the cheekbones. They give people beautiful looking skin tones. I mean, I really like how it looks, especially when you come down here into some of the clothing as well. Get a little more contrast there. And then after I've got it fine-tuned, like in the specific places I'm looking at bringing the contrast, let's bring out the legs, maybe a little more contrast in there. That's always good. Okay, so now that I've painted it in where I want it, I can go up here, and I like to go into mask, and then I like to just bring down the density of the whole thing. So I like to let a little more of the contrast leak into the whole picture after I painted it specifically into the places I wanted to impact the most.
Okay.
So I'll just bring that just a little bit down.
You're almost like reducing the opacity of the mask.
Yes,
Kinda.
yeah, exactly. And then you can see the before and the after. So it brings in a little more of the contrast into the leaves. Way too much, though, when we first did it right off the bat. But you see how where we applied it heavier, I just absolutely love how it pops your skin tones. You can see that cheekbone cut right out.
Yep.
The eyes are really catching. So there we go.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And then at this point, will you deliver this file? Will you do any conversion back over?
Good. Yeah, definitely.
Back over to RGB.
Not going to send it over this way because if someone shot me like an LAB file, most days, I wouldn't know what the heck to do with it. So what I do is I go back here to edit, just how we got here in the first place, and down to convert profile. And then I'll bring it back to our destination profile, ProPhoto. In this case, I do a lot of my work in Lightroom. Like I said, this is where it starts. Yeah. So that's ProPhoto. I try to keep it back and forth. So I'll bring it back to ProPhoto, which is what Lightroom kicked it out as. And here we go. We've got our image.
So now you can deliver it any way that you need to because it's not an LAB file.
Yeah, people will know what to do with this one. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And that way it's flattened back down too, and I'm not worried about anyone going in there and tweaking it. We're artists. Come on, I painted exactly where I wanted the contrast and nowhere else. So
yeah. Cool.
It is destructive though. I saw my buddy Joey Wright was on the show a couple episodes ago. He had this really cool tip. You just create a new layer here, and you go to edit. And you fill, not black or white, but if you fill with your history, it brings back the image you originally were working with. So if you think you might have overdone it in lab, and you're thinking, oh no, I just did destructive editing, what am I doing now?
Yeah.
Quickly make a new layer and then paste your history, and you've got your starting point. So you can paint that back in, tone it down a little bit, whatever you want. But the most important thing is getting that really cool contrast, popping their facial features, and
it looks great, man. Great. I can't wait to watch the stuff on D-Town because I want to see how everything was set up too.
Yeah.
Hey, so where can people find out more about you?
Yeah, my website's the best place. If you go to www.ericvallon.com, I've got all the links to my social media. I am a Twitter junkie. I'm on Facebook. You can check me out there. The website's got a blog, so you can always catch up with what I'm doing, behind the scenes photos, all that.
Awesome.
So, it's Eric with a K.
Check him out. Hey, man, thanks for thanks for coming by. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Again soon.
Appreciate being here. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Dave Black. We're working with sports action using speed lights. We started out track and field with a sprinter coming out of the starting blocks. Then we got some great feature shots of baseball from a variety of angles. Had beautiful twilight sky behind him, and then we'd like re-illuminate him with a speed light setup. We moved on to faster action with motocross, where we had 3 great professional motocross riders for us on a super course. We used a combination of crosslight with the sunshine and then the speed lights coming in to make a real dynamic look. It's exciting. You'll learn a lot. So come to kelbytraining.com and watch my sports action with speedlights video. We'll see you there.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi, Dave.
So I just want to tell one, actually, you mentioned the story about the Canadian anthem at Photoshop World as giving away these little PSD stickers.
Canada.
Thank you. And thank you for not making it sound like, oh, Christmas tree, like some people do.
Oh, Christmas tree.
So I had this little contest. If you want a sticker, you have to come up and sing, Oh, Canada. So at the tweet up, this couple marched up and they sang beautifully, Oh, Canada. So my response was, so where are you from in Canada? And they said, oh, we're from Columbus. We're season ticket holders for the Columbus Blue Jackets NHL team. So they've heard the Canadian national anthem so many times with visiting teams. I'm like, all right, you get 2 stickers for that. So
That's funny.
that's awesome.
All right, so it is contest and prize time.
Yes, it is.
Want to tell them about the contest and prizes, Dave?
Well, I would, but I'm too busy reading this fabulous book on compositing. It's so fantastic.
What a coincidence, Dave.
But they'll have to wrench it out of my hands and give it away as a prize. So one of the prizes you'll win is this fabulous book, Photoshop Compositing Secrets, by none other than Mr. Matt Kloskowski.
And you...
Big selling book, and awesome. You can hardly even find it. It's so popular.
Thank you, Dave. And you will also win an Adorama gift card that will be tucked away.
Somewhere inside. So
Oh,
you'll have to-
holy crap, there's more Adorama gift cards in here. All right,
Wow,
there's
so
already 2 in there.
there's a bonus.
I'm going to take this one away and put it in my pocket. So yeah, there's 2 Adorama gift cards in here.
Wow. Nice.
You ask why there's 2, wait till you see what they're for, and it might cover your shipping. But anyway, nonetheless, there's 2 Adorama gift cards in there, and you will get the Photoshop Compositing Secrets book. All you have to do,
Go leave a comment.
go leave a comment. kelbytv.com/PhotoshopUserTV, is that
Yep,
it?
something like that.
And just leave a comment for this week's show. Just say hi. You don't have to say
You have to
anything
spell
nice.
colloquial.
You have to spell colloquial, but you don't have to say anything nice because there's probably not many nice things to be said about this show.
It is a totally random draw, so, you know,
Yeah.
compliments are nice, but don't increase your chances of winning. So
Exactly. All right. I think that's it.
I think it is.
Pete, you got anything?
I got nothing.
You got nothing.
Nothing. That's my job. Bring nothing to the table.
All right. Pete's got nothing. Dave?
I'm done.
I'm done too. I think we can end the show there. Take care, everybody. It was good to see you, even though we can't see you. I'm sure we will see you and not see you again. Don't forget to check us out over on googleplus.com, becoming a very cool place for photographers. That's it. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again next week. Bye now. Photoshop User TV.